Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries, bro. So how are things, man? Like, well, the lockdown and everything like that. How's it treating you?
I think that we have it better than a lot of states here do. We obviously are kind of have the shelter in place, but it's not the strictest. There's still grocery stores that are open. There's still with restrictions. There's even bigger stores. We still can get food at any kind of restaurant, but it's all carry out and take out. No, there's no dining in. So we've got it better than a lot of people do. I just hope it doesn't continue to trend more strictly. So
yeah. We jumped in just before my camera crashed into how this pandemic is going to change how people operate in day-to-day life and also in business and jiu-jitsu and everything really. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think the term that's been thrown around is the new normal. That's what we're going to have to get accustomed to, is what's going to be the new normal once this is all past, and whatever past means. My thinking about it, and this is something that's been coming up in conversation with me and the academy owners where I teach, is it's not going to be like we get an all clear and everyone just rushes back into daily normal life. It's going to be, how are we going to operate? What kind of things are we going to consider now? How paranoid are people going to be? Because just, the thing about this pandemic is, and the whole concept of flattening the curve and all that is, it's going to be kind of a wave. It's going to be kind of a sine wave from a lot of the models that it looks like, and I don't know, I'm not a biologist or a virologist or anything else on that. I watch the news like everyone else does. And I think, once people are allowed to go back and resume different things that they were able or have been quarantined away from, they're going to be a little skittish about it. They're going to be, they're going to worry, well, will this, start this back up? Are there, there's going to still be people floating around. We're not going to have a vaccine for a long time. So, it's going to be something to where it's just, we're going to have very restricted behaviors even once the restrictions have been lifted. So
sure.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think most people with jiu-jitsu though, they're pretty diehard about it, and so I think that right now I could say I'm going to have a class tonight and I would get people there, which obviously would be a horrible idea, but it's I think there's going to be plenty of people to go back, and as people just are losing their minds without their training. I'm losing my mind with as restricted as I have to be right now.
Yeah. I was just saying about how the podcast that I'm doing right now, I never planned to do this. I had the idea I was going to set up in my garage. It was going to be people from my class and people, my instructor. We were just going to have this very close sort of thing. Whereas now I've kind of think, well, the world's your oyster right now. Like, you can literally set up a podcast and I can Zoom call you, and there's no limits really, in terms of what you want to do.
I wish that I had bought stock in Zoom and Netflix before this hit, because those are the two biggest, probably thriving companies out there. And DoorDash, I think, like the Uber Eats kind of things.
It's funny how
I think that
you scroll down the list of stocks and you just see, Zoom doing excellent, and everywhere just going down, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's just almost virtually overnight, so many things have just flipped, and we just woke up to a completely different reality all of a sudden, and it's pretty scary, honestly. It's enough to make you paranoid, not even regarding the virus or anything like that. That's obviously on everyone's mind, but it's just what happens to economies, like global economies, after this. What's that even look like? It's a weird time,
Yeah. So in terms of your life, how has that changed? What are you up to on a day-to-day basis now? Because obviously before, you were out there making YouTube videos, you were building your brand, you were doing seminars. What's your day look like now?
Well, now is the time to be very creative. So it's, we have to kind of figure some things out. Obviously I do, YouTube is a big thing for me, which that has been really weird, because I would expect I expect people quarantine in their houses to watch more YouTube. And I think they have, but not my channel. My channel is primarily for things that you do with a partner. And
Yeah.
so, people aren't looking for that so much. So my YouTube channel has just dropped way
Right.
down. Now the videos that are performing well individually are solo drills. People want to have solo things they can do on their own that at least mimic the movements
Yeah.
of jiu-jitsu when they can't go practice with another human. And there are some people, I am looking actually into doing the Zoom thing, because I have had several requests for private lessons over Zoom.
Yeah.
And because there are people trapped in their house, but they have other training partners in their house, whether it's a roommate or a spouse or a sibling or whatever. They have access to be able to do things. So that, but I haven't started that quite yet. Right now, I've been focused on trying to come up with kind of content to put on the social media stuff to kind of stay as relevant to the times that we have right now. So like I
Yeah.
said, solo drills and things like that. For my own sanity, I've been trying to work out. I'm not a good home workout person,
Yeah.
so I'm having to really adjust big time to that. I'm more of a go into the gym and do my
Yeah.
thing. But
Well, I've seen a few videos that you've produced, and you're putting your gi around various objects like trees and
yeah, I was in the park with my daughter one day, and I was just feeling really lazy that
yeah.
day, and I'm like, man, I just got to move. I got to do something. And I was like, I've got an old e-top in my trunk, and I just went and grabbed it. And I'm doing these things, and she's looking at me weird, and I'm like, you think we should make a video out of this? She's like, yeah. So she holds the camera and videos me doing some ridiculous things on park obstacles, and
Yeah.
which is crazy. I mean, because even with that video, every video I put out now, even if it's like an old video that was filmed a while back, but I'm re-releasing it, and I'll inevitably get some comments on there. It's like, social distancing. Why aren't you social distancing? Blah blah blah. And it's like, man, first of all, this is an old video. This wasn't even a thing, or even on solo things like that one in the park. It's like, oh, why are you outside? I'm like, that's not the issue, man. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know we couldn't breathe fresh air. Is like, I'm just going to walk out of the door
Yeah.
and somebody a football field away from me sneezes and it goes into my eye sockets. Is that how this virus works? I don't know, man. It's
I know, man. Well,
crazy.
listen, I think doing things like that will inspire people to still stick with it, because the past few podcasts I've kind of been asking people what they do when they feel demotivated, especially in jiu-jitsu. And a lot of the time it's just sticking with it, just turning up. Make sure you stick with the fundamentals. And we don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown, bro. So like being involved, even if it's on a tree, if the gi's on a tree, you're just still grappling with your hands, like, and that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. It's really the thing. And that's why it's such a tough thing. We don't, jiu-jitsu doesn't have kata. It doesn't have shadow boxing, it's the martial art that is, it's wrestling, it's grappling. So primarily. And so, it is tough to mimic those kind of movements, because we require so much, we respond so much on resistance, and the sensitivity of the movement and the sensation. So, that is a difficult thing that you can't really emulate. But yeah, I think there's probably a bunch of kids and spouses and pets that are getting some crash courses in jiu-jitsu around households these days.
For sure, though, dude. Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of wanted to get you on the show just to kind of, because obviously you've been in jiu-jitsu and you've been on in the game for absolutely years, haven't you? Like I think I messaged you. Didn't you say it was like 25 years you've been doing mixed martial arts?
Yeah, just different various martial arts. Jiu-jitsu, like I started with, it's easiest just to say Japanese jiu-jitsu, but it had kind of a weird blend to it back in the day. And I was with that for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half to 2 years before we really started to transition into more Gracie jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, and then once we were able to start, going and seeing Hoist and the Gracie family members of different kinds, either through camps or seminars or going out and training in California or wherever, then, that was probably about 23 years ago or so.
Right.
And so I've been under hoist the whole time. So.
Man. What did you start off as originally? Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, do you say? That's what you started off at?
Pretty soon. I mean, I started with Taekwondo, really, if we go all the way to the beginning. When I was probably 15 when I started with Taekwondo. And I was doing that for about a year and a half. And I refer to that as my gateway drug into other martial arts. So, and then when I found the teacher who actually, a man named Jason Hawkins, he was teaching jujitsu and he was teaching other things, like all kinds of things. He was training and teaching Jeet Kune Do and Filipino martial arts, and he had a second degree black belt in jujitsu already. Wow. And so he was the teacher or mentor that I went with, and I left Taekwondo for him. And I'm actually still, I teach beside him like every day to this day. So he owns the academy where I'm teaching now. So, it's been interesting to have, it's kind of a unique thing because there's not too many people that I think have been around the same person and the same kind of journey that long, so it's been a really good thing for me though. But yeah, I did everything from Taekwondo and Jeet Kune Do and Filipino martial arts and Muay Thai, even Tai Chi and some Aikido and Judo. And I've just been fascinated with like all things martial arts for the most part. But Muay Thai and I would say some boxing and other than that, and like jujitsu, and if I say grappling, but primarily jujitsu, but wrestling and judo is factored into that too. So
you must have met a whole host of people. Have you always trained in the same place, or have you moved around?
No, I haven't really moved around since I started training. I live in the same town. I'm in a not terribly small town, but a pretty small town in Western Kentucky called Paducah. And so it was a very geographically challenged time whenever I started, because in the 90s there was not jiu-jitsu very nearby. I mean, it was the coast. It was East Coast or West Coast, basically, California or New York, if you were outside of Brazil, and then eventually it started to, we became kind of a central center part of the United States for jiu-jitsu here. And then in St. Louis, and there's a couple of places in Illinois, Chicago, people started to kind of populate those areas. But yeah, it was kind of unique though, because there wasn't anything. We had to travel quite a bit to go and learn from anybody.
I was going to say, it's progressed so far in the past 2 decades. Like you must have seen it kind of explode, from right at the beginning to where it is now. And obviously the trajectory where you imagine it will be in the future.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking about this recently. We didn't really delineate a lot back then. When you went to learn in jiu-jitsu from one of the Gracie family members, this is jiu-jitsu. This is it. And they didn't delineate this is self-defense or this is sport or whatever. The sport was in its infancy in the U.S. I mean, it wasn't really a thing yet, and that really has proliferated a lot just in the past probably decade, honestly. But it's really blown up into its own thing. And so, and I think it's really cool. I personally think that I respect the totality of jiu-jitsu and as a martial art and as a practice, not just the sportive aspect of it, but I don't have a problem with anybody who just wants to do it sportively. If you just want to do straight gi grappling, that's fine, or no gi grappling or whatever. It doesn't matter the rule set, but as long as you represent yourself, correctly. I don't like when I see strictly sports schools that say that they're teaching self-defense, and then you come in and it's like every day of the week Spider Guard, so it's I think as long as everybody is kind of intellectually honest about it and doesn't just try to misrepresent themselves, it's a cool thing.
Sure. So have you always competed over the years? Have you, or have you just done it for fun most of the time?
Mostly for fun. Yeah. Not, I don't know about fun because I hate competing. It's nerve wracking. It's stressful and everything like
Yeah.
that. I prefer just like to train for training's sake and to teach and everything else. But I have competed. I would I'd force myself to compete because I think the importance of it was because I did hate it, because it did make me extremely uncomfortable. That's the whole point. It's
Yeah.
supposed to challenge you. It's supposed to, it's supposed to mold you and shape you. So, I competed. I never competed at purple belt. I competed
Mm.
at blue belt a handful of times. Like I said, there weren't very many tournaments to. Anyway, I competed, and then I didn't compete again from all through purple, and I competed several times at brown, and then several times at black early on. I got my black belt in 2011, and I've I think the last time I competed was 2.5 or 3 years ago. 3 years ago
Wow,
now. Yeah,
that's insane.
yeah,
Why do you
yeah.
think that
So
is?
I'm sorry.
Why do you think that is?
Uh, just the lack of competing. Well, mostly I haven't, because I know the kind of shape and not shape, but the kind of preparedness I want to have to compete, and the kind of training schedule that I've been keeping, because I travel a lot. I do a lot of seminars. I
Yeah.
teach a lot of classes, a lot of lessons. I would really need to take time away from that, and because um, my schedule has gotten a lot busier, like a whole lot busier in the last 3 years probably. So it hasn't been conducive to what I would want to have as a competing schedule. But
Sure.
I probably will again. But I'm kind of old, man. I'm kind of old and broken and injured and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. But it is. I think it's good. I tell everybody, regardless of um, your desire to ever compete for any reason, I think it's a good thing to do. If you're going to train jiu-jitsu, I think it's a good thing to do. Most people won't ever get into a fight that train
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. They probably won't ever get into a fight.
Yeah.
And the easiest, most readily available access we have to a controlled, simulated fight is a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
So it's you feel that aggression. So
So
it's good.
obviously over the years, you would have been able to deal with the pressure in order to, compete. If there's a white belt out there kind of needs some kind of advice as where to start in terms of the preparation of the competitions, everything like that, what would be the first few things you'd say to them?
I would say, man, there's a lot to go into it. I would say mostly make sure that your fundamentals are solid. Like
Right.
don't try to jump ahead and go and learn like the newest craziest thing, which you're going to go to any tournament right now and you're going to see two stripe white belts playing reverse de la Hiva all day long.
Yeah.
They're playing all kinds of lapel stuff. Everybody's got Keenan's series, and playing the game. So but these same guys, a lot of the time they'll jump ahead of that program, and they can't even pass a guard in the meantime. They're looking for leg locks and can't even pass a guard. So I think it's very important to have an extremely strong fundamental base, and
Right.
to have your defense on point early on like that too. So I mean, as far as what you're going to drill, and I would say drill like crazy. The most dramatic difference that can be seen in tournaments are the guys who drill. That and the guys that are conditioned. Those two big things. So make sure that you're drilling solid technique. And not making huge egregious errors and drilling bad habits into yourself, but drilling solid fundamentals under an intelligent supervisor and coach. And make sure you're conditioned, because you're going to have that adrenaline dump, and what happens after that happens is what's really going to determine a lot of it. It's the worst feeling in the world to lose to someone that you're way more technical
Yeah.
than. It's
Yeah.
a horrible feeling. But yeah, and then psychologically, I think for me, I don't know if this works for everyone, but for me, I had to kind of lie to myself and say that all these nerves and fear that I was feeling is actually excitement.
Right.
Because like my body doesn't really know the difference. I still have a crazy heart rate. I'm breathing, more sporadically. I'm having like a rush of thoughts, and so I'm going through these physiological responses to fear. But it's the same ones you're going to have basically for excitement. So, if
Yeah.
you just kind of tell yourself when you're on the edge of the mat and you're about to go up there, I'm excited. I'm ready to go and
Yeah.
have fun and show off and just do this thing. And that to me was one of the most helpful psychological elements for anybody competing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the fear factor, as you say, like it kind of when you spend time on the mat, is it right in saying that that kind of what to expect, and you kind of it's weird because your mind almost subconsciously kind of learns that you can deal with it no matter
Mm,
what.
yeah, I think.
The
No, go
more
ahead.
time you spend on the mat, the more you're able to deal with that pressure or come competition day.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I think is one of the most beautiful aspects of jujitsu too, isn't it? I mean, because you you have it gets drilled into, I guess, muscle memory, for lack of a better word, so immediate. There's so much contact, there's so much feeling that you're dealing with, and sensitivity that you have to have, and response based on tactile observations, not just visual. So whereas in striking arts, a lot of the time there is an element of that, but there's a lot less contact, a lot less physical contact if you're dealing with boxing or kickboxing. So you have to rely a lot more on visual cues, and subtle things like that. So it's very different than in jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, but I mean, I think that's the greatest thing, because like you respond to that sensation, you respond to the position. It's like you get there, you know immediately what to do,
Yeah.
or if you've drilled it enough, if you've rolled enough. Yeah, so that's why it's such a great martial art, man.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of the best. So
What I was going to bring up on your YouTube channel, you really do focus on how you can apply jiu-jitsu in real life. So you've got a whole series on your YouTube channel of how it unfolds in the street, as you say. Like, I think that's so important. Do you think jiu-jitsu, if you're in a street fight, would that be really beneficial compared to other martial arts?
I mean, I don't. I think so. Obviously, I'm going to be biased, but it's I think it is important to understand. But it depends on what you call jujitsu too. I mean, um, to me, jujitsu is a pretty complete martial art. I mean, it may more than that, jiu-jitsu is kind of a lens through which to see martial arts. It's a philosophy. So I mean, an arm bar may exist in other martial arts. This or that movement may exist in other martial arts, but jiu-jitsu is the way you do it, the way you apply it. So to me, that's why I call everything that I do jiu-jitsu, because it's how I understand things. So but yeah, I mean, as far as like just the movements of jiu-jitsu, the techniques of jiu-jitsu, it's the best self-defense martial art that there is. I mean,
Yeah.
now if we're really talking about self-defense, because if you're talking about self-defense, then that means you are on the receiving end of a physical confrontation, right? I mean, you didn't like this may not necessarily, it may be a little different than a consensual street fight where you and I have a problem at a bar and let's take this outside and then we square up with each other. That's a little bit different of a situation. There is an element of self-defense there, but it was consensual. It was entered into consensually. So I think if someone is attacking you, they're grabbing you, they're obviously getting up in your face, and something is going to happen, then I think that jiu-jitsu probably offers the best tool set.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced a moment in the street like that, or known anyone who has, where they've had jiu-jitsu up their sleeve and someone's, after a drunken night or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had anything like real dramatic. I mean, I've been in a couple of scuffles that jiu-jitsu obviously did really help me, but there's not like great stories. I mean, I think probably the best story was I pulled off a heel hook in an actual like fight, and I'm not proud of all the details of it because it was like at a party. I was in my early 20s. I like just learned a heel hook like 6 months before, so it's not like pretty stories. But I will say though, because I was talking to a police officer friend of mine about this on a recent podcast too, and we were discussing about, I've got a lot of students and training partners that are cops, and cops have the the most readily accessible use for jiu-jitsu more than anyone else, way more than any civilian, way more than any military person even. So, I mean, they're constantly having to go hands-on a lot of the time just because the proximity of them to a suspect or them to, whatever, even on a traffic stop sometimes, things like that. They're going into residences on different calls. So jiu-jitsu is extremely important for them because especially, for several reasons, if they had another skill set that wasn't jiu-jitsu, they're going to probably be more likely, in my opinion, to go excessive with the force. They're going to start striking and bludgeoning somebody. Whereas if you have some of the holds and some of the manipulations that jiu-jitsu has to offer you, then that's going to be a lot more beneficial to police officers. And so I get a lot of good stories from those guys a lot of the time. And it's eye-opening for me too. It's because, sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, hey, I did that technique exactly like we do in class. I did it exactly this way, and sometimes it's things that I would expect them to have to modify. Like I've heard guys pulling off like more sportive kind of moves, like, like different kind of sacrifice throws and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, you did that just like that way. And so it's pretty cool. But I also get feedback from them too of like, this is something that frequently happens when I try to do this. I've tried to do this several times with different guys that I was in a scuffle with, and this came up. So that's helpful too, because it helps us to not fix, but modify the technique if it needs to be modified for that particular situation,
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like instead of brute force, especially police force, if they're smashing them up, it won't end well. There's only one way it's going to end. Whereas with jiu-jitsu, it gives people a breather. For
sure, yeah. It's that's bad for everyone. I mean, you see, it's easy to get on any social media and see 100 cases back to back of cops like being criticized and just railed about their excessive force and this and that. And a lot of it, sometimes it's valid. I mean, sometimes it is like you'll see cops that are underprepared or undertrained and they're scared in a situation. I saw one the other day, and it was a New York subway with two different cops, and they were trying to detain this guy, and the guy was resisting, but he was fighting back pretty minimally. He didn't look like he was going for the weapons or anything like that. I didn't even really see him throw any strikes. He was just resisting hard, trying to get away from him. And they wound up shooting the guy. They actually wound up shooting the guy. Yeah. And so like completely uncalled for, completely unreasonable in that situation. But you're in situations like that, and if you're undertrained and underexperienced and you're carrying around these weapons, it's what's the saying, like when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, so it's but I took a firearms course with a gentleman not long ago, and his overarching theme was like, if you're going to carry a gun, then you better train jiu-jitsu. Like you that's like, it's irresponsible not to train a grappling art if you're going to carry a gun, because once that gun comes out, if that gun doesn't do from the distance that it's designed to do what it's designed to do in that moment, you're in a fight over that weapon now, across the board. And that's something that people don't take into consideration, I think, a lot of the time whenever they decide they want to conceal carry, and they don't do any training a lot of the time beyond just going to the range and putting holes in targets from however many yards away. And it can be very irresponsible. Obviously, that's not all gun owners, but it's a lot of the time it is.
Yeah. So you have your own class, right?
I teach. I've got several group classes I teach a week, but mostly I do private lessons more than I do group classes.
So how many members are in private classes? Is it literally just you and another? It was one-on-one?
Yeah, wow. Usually one-on-one. Sometimes there's I still consider two people a private lesson. I mean, we can do like semi-private things like that. But yeah, usually it's just one-on-one. So and it's all different people. They're all different ages and everything. So
yeah, do you prefer doing it that way? Because a lot of people like say that they love the culture of the class. Of everyone getting involved, everyone scrapping. Everyone rolling together. I don't know.
I think. Yeah, I tell people they both have their benefit. I mean, I think you work in a one-on-one with someone, you're going to get the precision of the technique they need, and you're going to make all of those fine-tune adjustments. Whereas, you know, if they're in a group class and you're walking around to 20 to 25 people or however many people are in that class, not everyone's going to get the attention that they need. It's just impossible. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to try to make it to everybody that you can, but inevitably somebody's going to be screwing up over here, like way worse, and you're going to have to focus on them a little more. So one-on-one gets them that crisp technique. But I tell people, you know, you can't just do private lessons. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
even and that's not the most like financially good thing for me to tell them. But, you know, I mean, it's you know, I tell them, you know, you've got to get in there. You've got to experience different body types. You have to do more live rolling. You know, even if we live roll in our private lesson at the end, it's still just me, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm, you know, if I'm a lot better than they are, a lot more technical than they are, I'm having to give a little bit of disingenuous energy to allow them to work some offense every once in a while. I can't just like smash them the whole time, you know. So, you know, they need to feel that genuine energy. They need to feel spastic energy sometimes too. You know, I mean, it's sometimes the spazzy white and blue belt is a lot more difficult to handle than, you know, a purple or brown belt, you know,
Sure.
because they're going to play a more technical game. It's going to be a little more like chess with those guys, and it's going to be more just like drinking out of a fire hose with the spazzy guys, you know. So
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
tough.
So apart from that, and then obviously you're going on to your seminars, but then I saw on your Instagram, you're now doing digital seminars as well now.
Yeah, that is kind of a name more than anything, but it's
Yeah.
it's like a course, you know. So we framed it like that, and yeah, it's got a ton of material in that thing. The digital seminar I did with the Budo brothers is called Jiu-Jitsu Deep Dive, and so it's got hundreds of videos in it. It's or techniques in it. It's got it's the first portion of it is structured as almost a curriculum, you know, as
Mm.
far as a fundamental kind of basic curriculum. And then, you know, there's a lot of like videos that are just like 1 to 2 minutes of a technique or a couple of techniques. And there's like there's so many of those that they go from, you know, some basic stuff to more advanced stuff. But I tried to kind of hit or discuss at least or frame at least the different modalities of jiu-jitsu in it. And so the way I consider it is there's fighting and there's for lack of a better term, and then there's more sport, which all fighting, you know, but it's not all sport. So there's gi grappling, obviously. There's no gi grappling. There is MMA, which is kind of the in between, you know, like the street fight and, you know, the just straight grappling match. And then of course there's just the self-defense for the street. So, you know, some things apply across the board, and other things have obvious drastic modifications, and some things just don't even exist in the other. But yeah, the digital seminar format of it is something that's kind of unique, you know, because you're kind of led through a progression. We discussed some things about mindset and training in there too, and yeah, but it was a lot of fun. That was a big project to work on with those guys.
Yeah, because obviously you've got so much on your YouTube channel, and it's all free content. So
Mm-hmm.
it's got to have a lot of value in order for
Yeah,
people to join that. You know,
that's how I figured. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Whenever I was asked about because I have 5 DVD sets out, and then I also have like a Patreon, and then I have that digital seminar too. And so I'm like, man, what do I have to that people want to buy that, you know, they're not just going to get for free on my YouTube? One big part of it's the organization. I mean, because if you go on my YouTube channel and you go on through and you search things, it's all over the place. Like
yeah,
next week, I might feel like doing a headlock escape, and next week, the week after that, I might show some like
yeah,
you know, like a twister entry or something. I mean, so it's going to be haphazard the way that's on there. So when I started the Patreon thing, I was like, what kind of bonus content am I possibly going to be, first of all, even be able to put out because of my schedule? So I just started recording my classes. So most of what you'll see on my Patreon channel is just me teaching a class, you know, and I go through and I edit it some, so it's not too tedious, but it's just me teaching in my classes on a weekly basis. But yeah, it's there's plenty of stuff too, that whenever I do one of these things, I try to keep a structure to it. I try to keep in more of a linear progression and make it make sense. But you know, a lot of these things too, like whenever I was first asked to do anything with BJJ Fanatics, like I was like, man, this is awesome. This is a huge opportunity for me. And, I want to do the best I can. And what wound up happening is I just did this big brain dump and just
Yeah.
threw everything jujitsu self-defense out that I possibly could. And it turned out to be like 8 different DVDs you'll get with that thing when you get in. So it's
How
we were
much
there for
content
like,
is, how many hours of content is on that?
oh my gosh, man. It's probably, I'd say it's well over 5 or 6. It's gotta be 5 or 6 hours, man. So, but we were there all day. We filmed it one day. And it was like 8 in the morning until about 10 or 11 at night, and we, it was a lot of fun. It was grueling, but yeah, I was like, I'm probably not going to get this chance again, and so I'm going to just throw everything I can out. And then they asked me to come back and do some more. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now I can focus a little bit more. Maybe I can like narrow the topic, and which that's kind of what I want to do with any other projects that I'm going to do in the upcoming futures. It's going to be a little more specific in scope, so that I can really kind of concentrate on just strictly this topic.
So do you think that just anyone off the street could kind of just buy your, obviously buy the seminar, but would they be able to become experienced just by watching the videos, or do you think that they need to obviously go to the classes as well, go to a class, kind of get some training on the mats as well?
I think ideally it's, you definitely need to go to classes. You need to have a supervisor like on hand to correct you, because you can watch something and you can imitate it. Like if I watch a dance video right now and I try to imitate it and I feel like, oh, I got this, I'm nailing it, and then I look at myself on video, it's not going to look anything like it. So so with jiu-jitsu it's even more urgent than that though, right? Because you can have a little bit of bias. Obviously I don't think anybody can really get a ton out of getting any instructional out there and just watching it by themselves and not training with another person. You have to at least, very minimal, have another person to train with on hand. Like ideally you would have multiple people to train with for different body types, and a coach too, an experienced, knowledgeable and professional coach to be able to correct you and help you out. So those, but at the same time I get lots of messages all the time, mostly on YouTube, but even people who have like, bought different instructionals of mine and stuff like that. And they're in a place that just, they don't have access to it. I've gotten several messages from a couple of people in India, and they're like, there's just no jiu-jitsu here, like not anywhere near us. But me and my brother really like to watch it. And, we watch your videos and we can actually go and practice together. And so I'm like, man, those are some of the coolest messages that I get, other than somebody coming to me and saying that they used something they learned from watching me in an actual self-defense situation or in a tournament even, and they pulled it off. And, those are very cool too. So that's why I do anything that I do, because that's the most gratifying thing.
It's that admiration as well. Kind of people are starting to kind of, well, you are very well known, aren't you now, in the jiu-jitsu scene?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I think if you go on and like Google some jiu-jitsu related stuff, I'll pop up in there. Some of my videos will pop up pretty soon now.
Yeah. So who's the coolest person that you've actually collabed with now? You must have collabed with many people. And
yeah, it was really cool to, honestly, like my buddy Jared, who we've been doing jiu-jitsu together, like he started, I think I was 19 and he was 14 when he started, and so like we've trained and been best friends like for all these years. So whenever he and I get together, it's always, we always play off each other very well, so we've done a lot of stuff together. And, it's really cool to collaborate with Chewy from Jujitsu. Nick Alvin, he's a great guy. That guy's just absolute genius, absolute beast, but extremely technical. So it's such a technical dude, they're really, really cool. But yeah, man, I do a lot of stuff with Ryan Hoover, which is a very different kind of approach, because he's more of he makes it really difficult to label him what he is. He comes from like a Krav Maga background, but he's very anti like calling it what he does Krav Maga now. So but yeah, we've done a lot of cool stuff. we got to do a couple of videos with Shane Faison, so from Fight Tips. That was pretty fun. So yeah, I'm usually down to collaborate with just about anybody,
Yeah.
honestly, and because I feel like everybody has, maybe not like pressure point knockout guys, but but
Yeah.
other than that, then as long as it's not chi powered, then I'm down to probably do it.
Yeah. So have you traveled to meet people then, like maybe overseas or anything, over to Europe or down to South America?
I've never left the continental U.S. honestly. I've gone to Mexico and Canada, but that's about it. I actually, last time I was in Canada, I went to. You do follow Because Jitsu on Instagram? If you've seen a BJJ meme that and it was funny, it probably was his.
Right.
Because he's got the biggest Jiu-Jitsu meme account on Instagram, and but what a lot of people are finding out now, but didn't really know for a long time, is he's actually a really accomplished black belt and a really, really technical guy and super nice dude. His name's Drew Weatherhead. And he's the one who really kind of resurged the popularity of the reverse Kimura movement that's going around now. And he's got a course on it. And so like he's got this course that's a lot like my digital seminar, but it's just about the reverse Kimura stuff too. But yeah, that guy's amazing. We just went down, actually, he came down from Canada. Jamie Kilstein, who I did like a funny video with recently, he came over from Arizona, and we all met up in Alabama. So it's like all from all over the place, met up in Alabama and went to Brandon McCaffrey, who he's got a lot of social media stuff too. He's a 10th Planet black belt, extremely nice guy, super technical guy. We met up down there and we filmed some videos together. We trained together a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. So one of the most recent videos I have out right now is guard pulling for the street. And so that was all Jamie Kilstein's idea.
I think I saw that actually. Yeah. You walk off with his girl.
Yeah. My girl, but his ex-girlfriend in the video. So yeah, but that was all his idea. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did a few really funny videos. Yeah, they have a podcast out right now, him and Drew, which is weird because Drew's up in Calgary or in Alberta, and then Jamie's over in Arizona, so like hundreds of miles apart, and they have a podcast together. So like you were talking about in the beginning of this, it's like that. This is the only time in history you could really do something with that accessibly. So they do.
Are they doing it on Zoom as well? Then they're doing it on over the.
They actually. Maybe they do. I'm not actually sure how they do their setup. It probably is a Zoom thing though, because they will have there'll be them and they'll have a guest on each week. So yeah, I guess it has to be something like that. The most recent guest they had was Robert Drysdale. No, actually, I'm sorry, it was Claudio Duval. And before that was Robert Drysdale. And so yes,
Dude,
there's some cool stuff.
That's awesome, man.
I'm gonna actually call in. It's kind of a spoiler, but I'm gonna maybe call in as a celebrity impersonation.
Seriously?
One of their episodes. Yeah. I'm not going to spoil it any more than that, but they're going to have a celebrity call in, and I'm going to be the impersonator doing that call-in voice.
What's the podcast called again?
Theirs is a Rear Naked Radio.
Rear Naked Radio. Right.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
And it's probably bad form to go on and talk up someone else's podcast on yours, but it's
it's cool, man. Whatever, yeah, for sure.
It's all community, man. It's all community.
That's completely it, man. There's enough to go around for sure. So you've also got your digital seminar. You've also got a clothing line as well, right? What?
It's like low key, like very, very low key. And, I have like some designs and stuff that I've done, and so I'm kind of low-key branding at fighty stuff, which was something that like we started as kind of my daughter actually was where I got the idea for it, because she would ask me if I had to do fighty stuff, like either a night or a weekend or something. She's like, do you have to do fighty stuff this weekend? And so it just kind of stuck, but it's perfect though, because one, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not like this like badass like tap out tribal everything, or whatever. It's more fun designs, and but fighting stuff kind of sums up what it is, because I'm not just a sport guy. I'm not just a self-defense guy. I like other martial arts and everything too. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if it takes off.
No, man. Is it you that makes the designs then, or have you got like a web design?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I'm a kind of a control freak, so I don't really trust people to do much. Like, so that's
Yeah.
why my website is suffering, because I did that a long time ago and I haven't updated it. So it's like I have trouble relinquishing control for other people to do things for me,
Right.
and to ask for help from other people, and it's a big character flaw of mine.
Yeah. Sure. So what are your next plans then, dude? Like it sounds like you've got all your fingers in different pies.
Yeah, and I'm
Have you got
glad
like
too, because like for times like this,
yeah, have you got like a main focus that you're kind of striving towards?
Yeah, man. Like the reason I started doing anything like virtual, like not virtual, but anything like social media or YouTube or digital stuff or DVDs, and it was because, like I mentioned, I've been with the same instructor, who's basically my peer now, but we've been together for decades, and it's his school. It's not my school. He pays me like an independent contractor, and so I teach out of that school. And I never had really any desire to open up my own brick and mortar facility. So the struggle then was, how do I grow where I'm planted? I'm not going to move away, because my daughter lives here, and so that's I'm going to stay here. And so it's just like, how do you grow where you're planted was the struggle. And so that was how I found ways to do it, and it was by expanding kind of the scope of who I can reach, and not that YouTube pays big bucks. It's especially not right now, and
Yeah.
that's a big misconception people have. But you can monetize that, and you can make digital content that you can monetize. And so I think that that's really the biggest thing, is I'm looking to expand that and be creative about it, but also not create, not expand it in a way that creates 10 times the work for me. So it's
Yeah.
that's the challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've seen you recently join TikTok as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing some more creation from yourself. I can see that obviously it's quite difficult to actually understand TikTok, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It doesn't operate like any other platform.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, man. Because I was looking, like Kent Peters, who has the on Instagram, and he does a zombie proof BJJ and all that stuff. And so he has several videos on there that have gone viral, nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. It's like him cutting open a hay bale, and it's like it's got millions of views. I'm like, I don't understand how it works, so it's just a fun thing right now, and just to start an account, because I feel like you'll need to have one later. I mean, there's a lot of people that are talking about how that platform is still in its infancy, and it's going to really take off and become something that people into marketing, people into the social media sphere, as far as the marketing and entrepreneurship and all that stuff, are going to really be able to use. And so I'm like, well, it's better to have it than not. So I'll just throw up something for fun every once in a while, just to keep it alive, and then see, where it takes off from there. But
I don't really understand how the algorithm works, but from what I've heard, it's purely how long people watch it and whether they rewatch it, right? So
yeah. Which, if you think about it, that's how an algorithm should work. I mean, because a lot of algorithms on different platforms are just weird, man. I mean, like Instagram has done some weird things. It's you'll
how so?
it's the whole concept of like shadow banning. Like I don't know if you're familiar with what shadow banning
No.
is on there, but basically it's like you get they negatively impact your you in the feed, how you come up in the search results or on the discover page or whatever, because of your content. But it wasn't necessarily content that they could, and I may be misrepresenting this a little bit, but it's like, it's not necessarily content they could warn you about or give you a strike about, but it's something that they don't really care for, so it's like, they're going to like kind of push it lower into the thing. So it sounds like kind of conspiracy theory, but there's just been too many examples of it I've seen firsthand, and a lot of people that have written big long articles about it. But it's an interesting phenomenon. YouTube is, it's become more and more censored. It's getting even more and more censored as time goes on, because man, I'm scared to put I actually bleeped. If you watch the most recent video, I
Seriously?
actually put a bleep sound in there because I was scared to curse on it, because they'll
What?
pick it up,
I,
man. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's and some of my videos have actually been demonetized
oh
because
wow.
yeah,
Because you swore in
because
it.
no, because the thumbnail looked too violent, because I'm
Wow.
doing a choke or something, and
Dude.
or the title of it says, like attack or something, or so yeah, anything that is violent on there. I've known some guys that do just like gun reviews, just in the firearms industry, and they'll do, their whole channel is based on gun reviews, and they just woke up one day and their whole channel was shut down. It's like, you're not suitable for
Hmm.
this or whatever. There was a guy that had 300,000 followers. His name was James Yeager. And granted, he did some controversial stuff, but it wasn't anything crazy. I mean, it wasn't anything that merited them shutting down his whole channel. So, I mean, this is a guy who, and he monetized it like crazy. And that was a big, substantial portion of his income. So, he woke up one day and it was shut down, So I know they've recently done some things with YouTube with, you have to mark your channel now. Is this suitable for kids, or is this
Right.
content created for kids, or is it not? And so, I can't put any kids on my channel now, so if I wanted to have one of my kid students, it's like, 10 years old or something, show a technique, I can't do that, not to monetize it anyway. And so, and it
Right.
would negatively impact my channel. So, and again, I know, channels that of martial arts people that had mixed content, and sometimes they would show kids class footage with everybody's permission, nothing that was infringing on any of the rights of the minors or anything like that. But yeah, man, so YouTube's a little crazy. So that's why I don't put like too many eggs in that basket, even when my
Yes.
channel's performing well, because I have no misgivings about anything social media related, man. You could wake up tomorrow and it's just wiped out. So
Yeah.
um or we get quarantined for a pandemic.
One of the two.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, listen, you've done amazing on YouTube, but I kind of want to get some advice as to where to start on YouTube, really, because I've not really got any content on YouTube, and I'm just starting out on Jiu-Jitsu, by the way. So I'm white belt. So I'm basically trying to document as
awesome,
much as I possibly can and
sure,
put it out there. Have you got any kind
yeah.
of tips or advice?
um yeah, I thought about actually making a couple of videos about that. I didn't know how it would perform on my channel, but I think I get the questions a lot, because it's like, oh, you got a big YouTube channel. um first disclaimer, I don't know. I really don't know,
Okay.
because I've had a channel since 2007, and
Right.
it only started up until 2017, so 10 years. I amassed about a little less than 6,000
Whoa.
subscribers. Yeah. And so now I'm like 166,000. So only in the past like 2.5 to 3 years has
That's
my channel like
crazy.
really
Yeah.
blown up. Yeah, and I don't know what it is. It was based off of two videos I put out. I put out a solo drills video and a mount escapes video. My mount escapes video blew up. It's got like 1.5 million like views on it or something now. And but I've never, I don't know what it was. I mean, so, and now I do know the process that I follow that helps. And so I can, basically the breakdown is like this. I film a video. My editing sucks. Like, so it's not that. It's not the quality of the video or the editing for sure. So if you've got those skills,
do you
then that
do do
helps
you
for
do all the
sure.
editing by yourself, by the way?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
All right.
now there are a few videos every once in a while, like the guard pulling video. I didn't film or edit that. But most of my videos, overwhelmingly on my channel, is me handing my phone to some random person that's
Yeah.
nearby, and because I have time, I have a body, I have a quiet room, that
Yeah.
nobody's training in there at the time. Sometimes people still are. Sometimes there's actually a class going on that you can hear in the background. But yeah, that's it, man. It's that no microphone, like,
Yeah.
so sometimes I get complaints about the sound quality, but basically, I film the video, I edit the video as
So it
best I
proves
can.
anyone can do it.
Um, Anybody can do, literally anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Kent Peters does even less work on his videos than I do, and he's got a good channel.
Yeah.
He's got, I think, probably like 20 something thousand,
Yeah.
subscribers. So once that's done, when I go to upload it, I make sure to go through and make a detailed description on it, because that does impact it for sure, and put any links or whatever. the one thing that I am proud of on any of my videos is my thumbnails.
Yeah.
The way I just pull out a frame of it. I don't make a special photo for it. I just like snapshot a picture from the video, and then maybe edit it a little, put a couple filters on it or something, and then put the words of the title on it. And there's different things people will say. It's like, you know, keep the 3 words, no more than 3 words on the title. That has never been my experience. That's never mattered for me. But anyway, so, you know, once that's done, you got the thumbnail, you got the description, make sure you go in and put the keywords, you know, it gives you that part for keywords, and you want to make those as relevant as possible, you know, and some of them not relevant. Some of them, they're just like community words, you know,
Yeah.
put IBJJF in the keywords or something. You know? But, you know, it's, you know, then when I go to like actually make it live, you know, they give you those share options, and I suggest people use those, you know, use those like crazy. I'll post it on YouTube, then I'll make a community post that YouTube gives you the thing for, put it on my Facebook page, put it on Instagram as best you can. You know, you can't obviously link in Instagram. Well, if you have 10,000, you can do the swipe up in the story. So I do that. And then, you know, I put the thumbnail on it, and people are interested, they'll go to it. You can put the link in your bio to your channel. You can, as horrible as as much as I hate Reddit, I think it's a cesspool in there sometimes.
Yeah.
I get big traffic from there. I see a big results, you know, thing. And so, and on that same note, track your analytics. You know, it gives you, YouTube is robust with the different features that it gives you to be able to track your analytics. And they even put out a newsletter. So, I mean, they're great. YouTube is fantastic at providing resources for content creators. Like, that's one thing that they are the best at. And that's why, you know, people can thrive on there. But yeah, it's a lot of work, man. People, as low key as I do my videos, as far as just throw somebody my phone, hey, record this. Okay, I got a video. But I mean, it's the back end that's so time consuming, you know? So it's a process. I haven't been able to like whittle it down and streamline it to make it like quick and easy. So
you've got just your phone, no microphone, and no editing software, really?
No, I recently, like literally this week, since I've been locked down, you know, these past few weeks, I'm like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Like, that I don't have. So I bought a microphone just like this week. I bought a little like stand, like a little jack for the microphone to like attach and all that stuff, you know. And then I'm getting a new computer that will actually not crash when I run editing software. That's more than just like iMovie. And so it's so I'm expanding finally, but yeah.
It just proves that it's the message that counts, instead of the quality, or people kind of worry about the quality of the stuff they buy, you know, thousands of pounds or dollars of equipment, and the message that they want to put across isn't strong. So when you have a good message or a good valuable lesson, people are going to resonate with it anyway. It doesn't matter if it's filmed off, you know. And that's just
I think that's true. I think that I think that I put things in. I'm not the best teacher in the world, but I'm a pretty good one. I'm not obviously anywhere close to the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world. I'm not in the top 1 million, but like I think that I do a decent job of putting a good amount of information into a concise format that people, even with bad attention spans, can follow. And that's what our society is like now these days. I'm like that too. It's like John Danaher, more power to him. I don't know how he does it, because, you know, most people, if they put out an instructional the way he put out an instructional, it would just flop. I mean, anybody that goes on and speaks, and he's got a cool accent, but again, it's just like after a while, you're like, oh, I'm falling asleep listening to him go on 20 minutes long about a heel hook, you know, and it's all good information. He's a brilliant man, but he breaks the rules about what's really going to perform well. It's a attention deficit society that we have to really appeal to these days. And I think that my videos probably do that pretty well. But it's like you said, man, yeah, it's definitely not all about the quality. Now, of course, that definitely helps. And when I actually do a pretty video that somebody else does for me, then people are like gush about it, you know. But yeah, there's world champions and some absolutely famous and talented and gifted jujitsu channels out there for of people, you know.
Yeah.
And their channels don't always do that great, you know. I mean, it's like I just recently found Damian Maia's channel, you know, and it's like, but there's just no work that really goes into it very much, and he probably doesn't moderate it. Keenan puts a lot of work into his channel, for sure, and he's got a great channel. But for some reason, I've got more subscribers than he does, and I'm clueless about that. I mean, I think that he does go a little long-winded sometimes too, though. You know, he put out like 20-minute videos, 25-minute videos. If I put out a 25-minute video, man, I'll tell you two things are going to happen. Like, it's going to perform lower, probably. I'm going to have some diehard people that watch it, but you're going to get an average view time of about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are just going to scan through that thing.
But now you've built up this following. You know, the people, you know, they recognize you in the street and stuff now.
It's, you know, more like in a context. You know, if I go to a seminar of somebody else's or something, which is awkward if I go to somebody else's seminar and then I have people that want to like get a picture with me after or something. You know, I feel strange about that. Or if I go to like coach somebody in a tournament or something like that, then people will recognize. It's rare though that like people. The most recent was I was in Virginia and I was walking out of a bakery with my girlfriend, and we had just had lunch or something. And like we were walking out, and this Russian guy, he barely spoke English, like recognized me and like asked to get a picture with me and stuff, and showed me, you know, was talking to me about trying to explain where he trained and stuff, you know. I was like, that was really cool. That doesn't happen very often, you know, because I think even if someone did recognize me, they wouldn't put it together, you know. It's kind of that way with people that you see somebody and it's like, that looks just like this person, you know.
Right.
But you talk yourself out of it because you're like, they wouldn't be here right now or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, dude. So did you have any shout outs or anything like that you wanted to kind of put across to the audience?
I think, you know, some of the stuff that we mentioned before. I mean, I'm really proud of that Jiu-Jitsu deep dive that I did with Budo Brothers. But yeah, that I put a lot of work in that. They put a ton of work into that on the back end of it. And so, yeah, I'd really like to like bulk that up. And then my instructionals I have with BJJ Fanatics, you know, I'm proud of those. There's like Jiu-Jitsu based self-defense solutions. There's a gi to street, which is like basically gi type chokes and techniques with street clothing. And then there's a position transition submission. Those are my 3 instructionals with them. And then, yeah, those are the big ones. And then my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I always forget to mention that one, but lately I've had to remind myself, because people need to know about it, because the viewership is skewed weird just since this whole quarantine thing is gone. But
so it's Night Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube.
Yes, Night Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube,
and on Instagram.
Yeah, basically it's like that everywhere. I think there's so Night Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, Night Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube. My Patreon channel is Night Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you can probably just Google that and see stuff pop up. But.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate your time and just running through the basics as when to start as well, bro. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate the conversation. It's nice to talk to humans while we're, you know, locked up and everything.
That's right, man.
Yeah. So
do you have any kind of do you go out of the house to go walking or anything like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get outside every day, and you know, exercise, like ride a bike, go, you know, running, which I hate running, but I've started trying to make myself do again, you know, and because, you know, home workouts get a little tedious. So, you know, I try to get creative as much as I can while we're stuck doing this. But also I get very stir crazy very fast anyway. So yeah, me spending for like several hours at a time in the house is difficult for me. So yeah, I just got to get outside, man.
There we go, bro. Well, dude, take care, man. And we'll catch you soon.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Brother. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to check out Eli's content, I've left his details in the description, and we'll see you guys next time.